my cooking level is 64. I would say I've put 5 to 10 minutes into cooking on this game, and that is not an exaggeration. I've literally put no other time in other than that. Hi, and welcome to this guide where I'm going to be talking to you about the best way to rank up your cooking level in New World as quickly as you can. Now, unfortunately, cooking is one of those skills where you actually have to put a large amount of time into either gathering resources or you have to put a large amount of money into buying resources to get that level up. It's not like fishing, which I'm doing a little bit of now, or it's not like mining, where you actually go out and you complete an activity, you do a certain thing, and it gets your level up. If you wanted to start doing cooking straight away in New World, well, you can't, unfortunately, because you don't have any of the ingredients. So what you have to do first is you actually have to go out and put some time or money into getting those ingredients. And that's what this video is going to focus on, because I have some really good tips and tricks for you that can actually help you with these ingredients to make sure you're doing things in the most efficient way possible. Now, to start with, I've done a little bit of fishing. I've been using this broad fishing hotspot that's in Windswood. It's a popular location. It's one that I like just because of the active hotspot here that can get you quite a lot of rare fish or bigger fish. And you'll see in my inventory, I've already caught quite a few fish here. I've got 13 tadpoles for those of you that have been struggling to get tadpoles so far, but you can get them in this location. You'll see that I've got some rare fish here, some large piranhas, a dragonfish, snappers, perch, etc. But what you can see is that I've put some time into actually doing a bit of fishing here. However, if you don't want to put time into fishing, because this is something that people tell me as well, is, oh yeah, that was good for getting your cooking level up quickly, because if we look here, in my skills, my cooking level is 64. I would say I've put 5 to 10 minutes into cooking on this game, and that is not an exaggeration. I've literally put no other time in other than that, because most of cooking is about getting the ingredients, and then once you actually do the cooking part, things are very fast. So people say to me, oh yeah, that's all well and good for getting your cooking level up fast, but you have to put a large amount of time into fishing. But then the other methods to actually get your cooking level up, you've got to run through fields and pick up various ingredients. That isn't really the ideal way to do things. So what I recommend that you do is you do a bit of fishing first, or you go to the trading post and buy some fish, and that's what I'm going to try and do now. So I'm just making my way over to the trading post that's in Windswood now. But what I would say is that once you're running around, once you're running back to certain locations, you're probably going to pass things like boars or turkeys, or maybe even vegetables that are in the floor. I would always recommend just picking these up, or killing the animals if you have to in order to skin them and take the meat off their carcasses. God, this is getting very dark all of a sudden. But I would recommend that if you're running past something, you may as well just take the food if you can. And I would recommend pretty much doing this at all times, because getting these resources, it's just time consuming, and if you can go past something, you may as well just put those 5 to 10 seconds in, because it's definitely going to benefit you in the long run. You'll see that I got 2 pieces of pork there. That will come in handy when we actually get to the cooking part. Okay, so I'm now at the trading post in Windswood. You can go to any trading post, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to try and buy some fish. I've got 2,000 coins here. I'm going to see if I can just buy anything, and I'm only going to look for common fish really, but some large fish would be nice. Let's see if there's any large pike on here. I'm probably going to be overpaying for some fish here, but I just thought I would do this just to speed things up for the purpose of the video. This is actually on the beta of the game, sorry. So I'm going to be losing all these coins in a few days' time anyway, so that doesn't really matter to me. 100 coins, whatever, I'll just buy it. So what you could do if you wanted to get your cooking level up quickly is just come here and buy a load of fish. Now, the reason that I recommend using fish for this, and this is very important, is because when you salvage them, you can get different types of fish fillet. So 4 large perks here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to salvage them, and we're going to want to do this with all of our fish. We're basically going to salvage everything. So we can see here that from these 4 large common fish, we're going to get 12 to 16 fish fillet, which all count as a tier 1 ingredient. And we might also get some firm fish fillet as an additional ingredient. So I'm going to confirm that. We can see here 16 fish fillet and 2 firm fish fillet. And then I've got a few other ingredients that I picked up as well. What I'm going to recommend that you do is you do a bit of fishing, and then you salvage all of the fish that you can, and also obviously pick up a few other ingredients. But the reason that fishing, and fish in particular, is so good for this is because you get 2 different types of ingredients from the same item, and both of these can be used as separate ingredients when it comes to cooking. I will show you that very shortly, but what I'm going to do is I'm quickly going to salvage all of the fish that I've got here, including some rare ones. I'm going to just get rid of them because it doesn't really matter. So I'm just finishing salvaging all of these fish. I've now gone through them all, and we can see here that I've managed to get 132 regular fish fillets, 24 firm fish fillets, and I've even managed to get 2 tender fish fillets, which are a tier 3 cooking ingredient, which will help when we rank our cooking level up, which will happen very quickly when we're doing this. And what we're then going to want to do is head towards a cooking station. One thing that I would recommend in Windswood is there's actually a honey source here with these bees around. I've already taken the honey recently. We'll see that in my inventory. So I actually got 17 pieces, I guess, of honey. That doesn't really make sense, but I got a quantity of 17 honeys from here. So it's always worth taking these free sources of ingredients, and then we will make our way to the kitchens. Sorry. What we will now do, now that we're at the kitchen, is we'll take a look at some of these recipes. We can see here that if you're a cooking level 0, you can only make a light ration. You're probably a higher level than this. But we can see here, we can use a tier 1 raw food. What I would recommend is to make sure you never use the default option. You always want to be trying to make sure that you're getting rid of the worst things. You might have some good items. This is particularly important if you're using tier 2 or tier 3 ingredients, because you might actually get rid of some really good fish that might qualify as 1 ingredient for a tier 2 or a tier 3 recipe, but if you'd actually salvage that fish, you might get a whole load of fish fillet from it, so you never want to use the default option. In one of my recipes, it was actually recommending that I use a tier 5 legendary fish to make myself an energizing travel ration because it classified as a raw food. Obviously, you don't want to be doing that. And that can actually be shown here. If we see here this raw food ingredient, the game actually tried to pull in my tier 5 legendary albanaja as a raw food, and I nearly threw it away, making myself an energizing travel ration, which is not a good item, really. So what I recommend doing to get your cooking level up really quickly is to make these travel rations, energizing light rations, and energizing travel rations. You only have to be cooking level 2 to do this, so if you're not already level 2, which you probably are, it's not going to take you long to get here by just making the light rations. But what we can do here is we can set our tier 2 raw food to be a firm fish fillet. You'll see that just from the small amount of fishing that I did, and obviously I bought 1 fish on the trading post, but if you'd done a fair amount of fishing, if you'd acquired a load of fish from the trading post, which I would recommend doing just to get your cooking level up really quickly if you want, but obviously don't overpay for the fish, we're going to use these 24 firm fish fillets as our tier 2, and then our raw food, we can use the regular fish fillet, or we can use honey, which was a free source of food. So we can see here I've actually got 20 honeys, which means I'll be able to make 20 energizing travel rations. So if I craft those, we will see here that I'm already level 64 cooking, and I've gone up to level 66 cooking just from doing that. You can imagine if you're a low level, how much you're going to increase your rank. So what I will do then is I will just repeat this using different sources of food. So I could use a bit of game meat that I picked up, or a bit of pork that we picked up from that boar along the way, or I recommend using your regular fish fillets. And what you're going to want to do is basically just work your way through all of these recipes in the kitchen, because you can make a range of different things. We can see here, if I wanted to, I could actually make this light meal, which is level 50. We're going to want to put the worst things we can into these recipes. Remember, that nearly put in a pretty good item there as my raw food, whereas I could just use a fish fillet, which I've got 128 of. But for this one, we're going to need tier 3 raw foods, which is why it's important that I actually managed to get a couple of tender fish fillets from those fish. But if you did see the fish that I was salvaging in my inventory, which I showed earlier on in this video, I wasn't really salvaging any particularly amazing fish. There were some rare fish in there, but they weren't massively valuable fish or anything like that. So we can craft just 1 light meal in this example, but we'll see that actually gets us 90 cooking XP. If you were able to make a load of those, if you had all the ingredients for that, that would rack up your cooking level extremely quickly. And what I want to do here is just show how quickly this can actually go up. So with a light ration, all I need is a fish fillet. I could make 127 of these, and we will see here that my cooking level again goes from 66 to 67, just making this really, really easy to make item. Now, I wouldn't recommend making these light rations if you had the ingredients to make better items, but once you've run out of all the items, say you've run out of your tier 2 foods, your tier 3 foods, you can then resort to the light rations where you only need a tier 1 raw food. Other people recommend using other ingredients for this, tomatoes, eggs, whatever. That can be good, but they're just hard to get in such large quantities. So fishing, buying fish, they are, in my opinion, the best method for doing this. I hope you found this video useful and interesting and informative. I hope it's actually helped clarify things for you as well, not just tell you the best method, but also explain it to you and why I think it's the best. Let me know any thoughts you've got in the comments section, and thank you very much for watching. Make sure you hit the like button before you leave.